From the moment we enter this world, we're conditioned to believe that we are human. We look in the mirror, we see flesh and bone, we feel emotions and experiences, and we think, this is who I am. But what if you're not who you think you are? What if you're something far greater, far more eternal? We're diving deep into the profound truth that you are not human, and you never were. This is not just a spiritual idea, it's a reality that will change everything about how you see yourself, your life, and your purpose. Think about it. Your entire life is built on the belief that you are human. You wake up every day and you're concerned about human problems, work, family, money, health. You worry about your appearance, about what people think of you. You're afraid of aging, of getting sick, and ultimately of dying. This is because from birth, we're taught that being human is everything. We're taught that our bodies, our minds, our accomplishments, and our failures define who we are. But here's the challenge. If you're so attached to this idea of being human, how do you ever break free from it? How do you begin to see yourself as the spiritual being you truly are, rather than the human shell you've come to identify with? The truth is, you can't truly grow, evolve, or become spiritually awakened if you're stuck in the illusion that you're just human. The biggest hurdle for most of us is getting past this deep ingrained belief. This attachment to our human identity keeps us trapped in fear and limitation in a world where we feel disconnected from our true power and purpose. The key to unlocking your spiritual potential lies in realizing that you are not human and never have been. So, how do we begin to unravel this lie and start living from our true, eternal nature? Let's take a step back and really explore what this means. What does it mean to say that you are not human? It's not about denying the reality of your human body or your human experiences. Obviously, you have a body and you live in a material world. But it's about understanding that these things are not the core of who you are. They're part of your temporary experience here on Earth, but they don't define your true essence. Think about the core of your being, your soul, your spirit. The Bible tells us in Genesis that we are made in the image of God. Now, does that mean God looks like us, has a physical body like we do? No. It means that we are created to reflect divine qualities, love, creativity, wisdom, and eternal life. Your spirit is eternal, and it existed long before your human body came into existence. And here's the kicker. It will continue to exist long after your body returns to the earth. So why are we so attached to the idea of being human? Why do we place so much importance on our physical identity, on our human experiences? The answer lies in the material world. From the moment we're born, we are bombarded with messages that reinforce the idea that the physical world is all there is. We're taught to value the things we can see, touch, and measure. We're told that success comes from how we look, how much money we make, how many achievements we accumulate. We become obsessed with our appearance, our health, our possessions, all in an attempt to protect and preserve this fragile human identity. But here's the truth. You are not your body. You are not your mind. You are not even your thoughts or your emotions. These are all temporary aspects of your human experience, but they are not who you are. Your true self is eternal. It's the part of you that is connected to God, to the divine, to the infinite. And when you begin to understand this, everything changes. Let's take a closer look at this from a biblical perspective. In the Gospels, Jesus often referred to the Spirit as being more important than the flesh. He said, "The Spirit gives life. The flesh counts for nothing." John 6:63. Jesus understood that our true identity is spiritual, not physical. He knew that the body is just a vessel, a temporary home for our spirit while we're here on earth. And this is key. Your body is not who you are. It's just the vehicle you're using for this particular journey. Consider the moment when Jesus was transfigured on the mountain. His physical appearance changed, becoming radiant with light as his disciples looked on in awe. This wasn't just a random miracle. It was a profound statement about the true nature of the Spirit. Jesus was showing his disciples that the physical body is not the ultimate reality. He was revealing the divine nature of his Spirit, which transcends the limits of the human form. And here's the thing, you have that same divine nature within you. Your spirit is just as eternal, just as connected to God as Jesus' Spirit was. But why is this so hard for us to accept? Why do we cling so desperately to our human identity? The answer lies in the ego. The ego is that part of us that is deeply invested in the material world. It's the voice inside our heads that says, "I am my body, I am my possessions, I am my achievements." The ego is terrified of death because it believes that when the body dies, it will cease to exist. And so it clings to the physical world, trying to control everything, trying to avoid any kind of loss or change. But here's the truth. The ego is not who you are. It's just a part of your human experience. But it's not the real you. The real you is the part that is watching the ego, the part that is aware of your thoughts and emotions, but not controlled by them. The real you is your spirit, your eternal soul, which is untouched by the drama of the material world. This brings us to a powerful realization. Once you awaken to the truth that you are not human, you begin to live with a greater sense of peace and freedom. You stop worrying so much about the things that used to consume you, your appearance, your status, your possessions. You begin to see these things for what they are. Temporary illusions that have no bearing on your true self. And this is incredibly liberating. Imagine living without the constant fear of losing what you have. Imagine being at peace with the idea of aging and death because you know that your spirit will continue on regardless of what happens to your body. One of the most profound spiritual experiences people describe is the feeling of being out of the body during meditation or deep prayer. In these moments, people often describe feeling like they are pure consciousness, floating beyond the limits of their physical form. This is a glimpse into the truth of who you are. When you're able to step outside of the human identity, even for a moment, you realize that your body is just a small part of a much larger picture. You are so much more than what you see in the mirror. And let's not forget about the concept of ascension. In Christian prophecy, there's often talk of the chosen ones being transformed in the end times, leaving behind their physical bodies and ascending to a higher plane of existence. This ties directly into the idea that after spiritual awakening, the physical body becomes unnecessary. Many believe that during this ascension process, the body will be left behind entirely as the spirit rises to a new level of existence. This doesn't mean you disappear or cease to exist. It means you evolve beyond the need for a physical form. Think about the stories of saints and mystics throughout history. Many of them describe feeling completely detached from their bodies after reaching a state of spiritual enlightenment. They no longer identified with their physical form. Instead, they saw their bodies as something they could take off like a set of clothes. Once they had awakened to the truth of their divine nature, they realized that their bodies were just temporary tools, and they no longer felt the same attachment to them. This is where the idea of eternal life comes in. Many people fear death because they believe that when their body dies, they will cease to exist. But when you realize that you are not human, that your spirit is eternal, you begin to see death in a different light. Death is not the end. It's merely a transition. Your body may return to the earth, but your spirit continues on, evolving, growing, and moving closer to God. The key moment of realization comes when you truly understand that your identity is not rooted in your body, your mind, or your emotions. You are an eternal spirit created in the image of God, and your true nature is divine. When you embrace this truth, everything in your life changes. You stop being controlled by fear, by the need for validation, by the desire to accumulate more and more. Instead, you begin to live with a sense of peace, purpose, and freedom that comes from knowing who you really are. Imagine for a moment what it would feel like to live without the constant anxiety that comes from identifying with your human form. No more fear of aging, no more fear of sickness, no more fear of death. You realize that none of these things can touch your true self. You are eternal, you are divine, and you are connected to something far greater than this temporary human experience. This shift in perspective is life-changing. It allows you to approach every situation with a sense of calm and clarity. You begin to see challenges as opportunities for growth, rather than obstacles to be feared. You stop worrying about the opinions of others because you know that their judgments have no bearing on your eternal self. You become more compassionate, more loving, more open to the world because you are no longer operating from a place of fear and scarcity. So here's the truth. You are not human, and you never were. You are an eternal spirit, created in the image of God, here to experience life on earth for a brief moment in time. Your body, your emotions, your experiences, they're all part of this journey, but they don't define you. When you understand this, you become free. Free from the limitations of the material world. Free from fear and free to live fully as the divine being you are. Your true essence is eternal, and nothing in this world can change that.